Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. As I teased coming into the segment, Matt yesterday said that he thought that LSU could win every game on their schedule, and I think he means more so speaking individually than the rest of the games in totality. Like, they can win every game. There's not any game that you would have to Sharpie an L next to. And I would agree with that. And honestly, there are only a few of those that you can remember looking back over the years. I would have put an L next to Bama a few years. That's reasonable. And honestly, I probably would have put a Sharpie L next to Florida in 2020 when we showed up there in Gainesville. I mean, I was at that game, and it was the shoe game. You all remember it. So, Sharpies don't always take. And I would agree with that. I also don't think they're going to win all of them in totality. But I do believe they can win each one individually. I never gave you a season pick for LSU. I never went through the schedule and gave you a win and a loss and came up with a season prediction. I just didn't do that. And so I want to kind of reset now before you get into conference play, because this thing is a long season and we feel differently as things go. But I just wanted to reset after one loss and one scrimmage, and kind of give you my thoughts on where I think things are headed now. I don't believe anything that I tell you in this segment is going to be alarming or eye-opening in any sense. I just want to tell you kind of what I'm feeling. I feel good about LSU offensively, even though things didn't go great in the second half against Florida State. And I know that there is a pretty sizable discussion on the identity of the offense and the quarterback play at this point. And I'm not really here to get too deep into those weeds today. But I will tell you, this is what I believe. I believe that Jaden Daniels is still going to have some Saturdays where this offense is just cooking. That's coming. It didn't necessarily happen against Florida State, and that's okay. It didn't happen against Florida State last year. But if you'll remember, there was a 2-week stretch where LSU beat Florida in Gainesville and then came home and beat Ole Miss in Tiger Stadium. And LSU was essentially unstoppable in those two games. Now, I'm not suggesting Florida and Ole Miss were the greatest two teams that ever played, but I don't think the SEC West is full of the greatest teams who've ever played this year. Against Florida last year in the Swamp, Jaden Daniels became the first player in LSU history to run for 3 touchdowns and throw for 3 touchdowns in a game. It was decided in regulation. Joe did it in College Station in the overtime game. But it was a clinic. It was 6 straight touchdown drives. And then they showed up against Ole Miss at Tiger Stadium, an unbeaten Ole Miss team that got out in front of them by 3 scores. And he put up a 5-touchdown performance. LSU scored 45 points. He was named the SEC Offensive Player of the Week. He ran for 3, passed for 2 touchdowns. Like, that's still in there. You can tell me that Garrett Nussmeier is significantly better than Jaden Daniels, and I'll let you have that opinion, and you could say that he's a better quarterback for the team, and that's all. That's your opinion. It's perfectly fine. It doesn't change the fact that Jaden Daniels played in this conference last year and did this a few times. Now, yes, I watched the Arkansas game. I watched the A&M game last year. I saw the game against Florida State. I saw the first half against Mississippi State. I'm not telling you that this LSU offense is a juggernaut. I think it's very good, and I think there are going to be some Saturdays. Maybe it's against Auburn. Maybe it's Arkansas. Maybe it's Saturday against Mississippi State, where LSU is cooking on offense with Jaden Daniels. They've got the run-pass option going. They've got teams on their heels. They're able to move the football on the ground. They're able to hit some big plays through the air. You get Malik Neighbors one-on-one, Brian Thomas jump balls. You got Chris Hilton there, and you get Logan Diggs incorporated, maybe Caleb Jackson. So, I think this is going to be a good offense, and I think there are still games ahead where LSU's offense goes nuts. The defense, I do have my concerns about, and I'll be honest, they're probably more prevalent than they were in August. That was an eye-opening day in Orlando, and I'm concerned about it. Now, I look at the quarterbacks in the SEC West, I see Peyton Thorne. I see Milroe. And those don't terrify me over in Alabama. Dart was pretty good against Tulane, but do I think he's the ticket? No. KJ Jefferson's good. I think Connor Wigman's good. Will Rogers is going to set every record in the SEC, although what we saw last weekend, it's not Tua and Bryce Young and AJ McCarron, not Cam Newton, not Johnny Manziel. But I'm still a little bit concerned with that defense. They need to be good against the run. They need to get Mason Smith in game shape. They need Harold Perkins to become a game wrecker again. And they need the secondary to grow up. Whether it's Zy Alexander getting used to the speed of this game, Denver Harris figuring out coverages, Ashton Stamps growing up before your very eyes, those safeties playing a little bit better. It's still a concern. But when I looked at this team before the season, I never said this on the air, so I can't. Usually everything I feel is on the air, and you can just go check the tape. This is not on tape because I never did it. I never gave a win and loss record, but I thought 9-3 felt right. And we sit here and we have a second half blowout by Florida State and a game that we knew they were going to win against Grambling, and now we've got a little bit more information on the teams that LSU will play. So the question is, does my feeling change on where this team sits today? And I gave it some real thought this morning. I assessed all the games, where they're played, where on the calendar they're played. And I'm not going to go through and give win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, but I still feel like it's 9-3. And depending on who you talk to, you'll get a different reaction on if that's acceptable, solid, or grossly disappointing. That's for you to determine what your expectations were for the season. I would probably tell you that it's a little disappointing to go 9-3. Brian Kelly, who tells you that the roster wasn't ready to compete with Georgia as of July, may feel differently about going 9-3. And the other caveat to this is because I always get asked, well, what if they do this or what if they do that before the season? And the answer is, well, what does it look like? You lose a couple of overtime games and another one by a score late that you turn it over 4 times via the fumble in. That's different than getting absolutely scorched by A&M and Bama. So what it looks like, there's always context to these things. But to me, it feels like 9-3. It feels like LSU is going to be in some really tight games. And those can go either way. In 9-3 and 8-4, conversely 10-2 and 9-3, they just feel so different. When in reality, they're not that different. It's razor's edge in this sport. And as I've kind of grown into this role of talking to you for 2 hours every day, I'm kind of learning how I react professionally to LSU week to week during a football season. I knew what I would feel like during a basketball season or a baseball season, because you can have off days or catch bad breaks and have games go a different way in those sports. In football, they go a different way, especially when there's expectation on you. All of a sudden, it feels a lot different. When in reality, you look at what it is, and it's not that different. But it feels like 9-3 to me. So we'll put a Citizens Bank and Trust poll up. If LSU were to go 9-3 this season, would it be and then we'll do a disappointment about where they should be, or a good season? We'll give you those 3 options. I feel like a lot of people are going to be hard-pressed to push back on 10-2, and I feel like it'd be really difficult to talk 8-4 into a real step forward. 9-3 feels like that median mark. I'm just curious what the fan base, decides they think about that. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat right now on YouTube, tell me what you'd think if they went 9-3. We're just playing what-ifs here. I think this is a good spot in the week to do it on a Tuesday. Come Wednesday, Thursday, certainly Friday, we're getting into matchups. Mississippi State, what's their offensive line look like? What's the tight end game look like? They got a couple pretty good linebackers. What is Will Rogers doing in this offense? What's LSU doing at right tackle? Who's going to be the lead running back? Like, we'll get into like matchups and stuff, but I think Tuesday probably a pretty good day to step back and maybe take a 30,000-foot view at this thing as far back as you can zoom in season. I know these things are better done in July and September. in July and August. But I think 9-3 is kind of that tipping point, and that's kind of where I think they're headed. I think they've got issues on the defense that are going to be hard to fix, and I think that you're just going to play a lot of really close games. Hopefully they go LSU's way this year. You were able to come from behind and beat Mississippi State last year. Come from behind and beat Auburn last year. Come from behind and beat Ole Miss last year. You were able to beat Alabama in overtime last year. You won some of those really 50-50 games and turned them into not so 50-50. You run away from Ole Miss. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.